Level 1. The beginning. Most men who attempt BUD/S are already elite. Division 1 athletes. Marine infantry veterans. Army Rangers with combat deployments. Men who have spent years building the kind of physical and mental foundation that would make them exceptional in almost any other context. The Navy will break most of them anyway. BUD/S, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, has a historical attrition rate that hovers between 70 and 80% depending on the class. In some classes it exceeds 90. The men who quit are not weak. They are not failures. They simply discovered, in the most unambiguous environment possible, that wanting something and being built for it are two different things. You're about to find out which one you are. You don't arrive at BUD/S from nowhere. Before Coronado, you spent 4 years in the Navy. Hospital corpsman, aviation machinist, surface warfare officer. You build a record clean enough to get the screening interview and fit enough to pass the physical screening test. 500-yard swim under 12 minutes and 30 seconds. 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 10 pull-ups. 1.5-mile run under 10 minutes and 30 seconds. That gets you in the door. What happens next has nothing to do with what got you in the door. Level 2. BUD/S. Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training takes place at Naval Special Warfare Command in Coronado, California. It lasts approximately 6 months, divided into 3 phases. It is designed to find the ceiling of every man who enters and then push him through it. First phase is physical conditioning. 7 weeks. The runs get longer. The swims get longer. The log PT sessions in the surf zone at 6 a.m. with water temperature in the high 50s last until the instructors decide they're finished. You carry telephone poles with your boat crew across the sand until your shoulders stop feeling like shoulders and become something else entirely. Then Hell Week arrives. 5.5 days. Approximately 20 hours of physical training per day. 4 hours of sleep total across the entire week, not per night total. You are wet and cold and sandy for so long that the sensations stop registering individually and merge into a single constant condition that your body eventually accepts as normal. The boats never stop. The runs never stop. The instructors never raise their voices because they don't need to. The cold does the work for them. Men quit on day 1. Men quit on day 3. Men quit on day 5 when the finish line is close enough to almost see. They walk to the bell mounted on a post in the middle of the compound, ring it 3 times, and place their helmet in the row of helmets belonging to everyone who rang it before them. By the end of Hell Week, the row of helmets is longer than the line of men still standing. You're still standing. You feel nothing when they tell you Hell Week is over. Not pride, not relief. The cold has burned through everything except the knowledge that 2 more phases remain and the hardest part of your life is still ahead. Second phase is diving. 8 weeks. Open circuit scuba, closed circuit rebreather, underwater navigation, and zero visibility at night. You conduct combat swimmer operations that require you to navigate to a target ship using only a compass and kick count. Place simulated limpet mines on the hull, and return to the insertion point without surfacing once. Third phase is land warfare. 9 weeks. Demolitions, weapons, small unit tactics, patrolling. You conduct live fire exercises that would be considered advanced training in most conventional units. Here they are the foundation. You graduate BUD/S. Of the 180 men who started with your class, 37 remain. You are one of 37. Level 3, SQT, and the Trident. SEAL Qualification Training. 26 weeks. This is where BUD/S graduates become actual SEALs. You learn advanced combat diving, halo and ha-ho parachute operations, close quarters battle, sniper fundamentals, survival evasion resistance, and escape and maritime operations. The training is technical, precise, and relentless in a different way than BUD/S. BUD/S broke you down. SQT builds something specific from what's left. On graduation day, you receive the Trident, the gold warfare device worn on the chest of every Navy SEAL. An eagle holding a trident, an anchor, and a flintlock pistol. It weighs 2 ounces. It is the heaviest thing you have ever carried. You are assigned to a SEAL team. Teams are based on both coasts, Coronado in California, Little Creek in Virginia. You report to your team, introduce yourself to your platoon, and begin the workup cycle that will take another 18 months before your first deployment. You are a SEAL. You are also, again, the newest person in the room. Level 4, the new SEAL. Your platoon has 16 operators. You're the most junior. In a community where the average operator has years of training and multiple deployments before they reach any position of authority, being new means something specific. It means you prove yourself again. The workup cycle covers every environment SEALs operate in. Desert warfare in the Mojave. Arctic operations in Alaska. Maritime interdiction in the Atlantic. Close quarters battle in the kill house until the sequences live in your nervous system rather than your conscious memory. Enter. Clear left. Clear right. Threat. Transition. Next room. You run it until you can run it in complete darkness by sound and movement alone. Your first deployment is to an undisclosed location in the Middle East. Direct action raids, special reconnaissance, and foreign internal defense missions training partner for soldiers who will continue the fight after you rotate home. The first raid happens on your 4th night in country. A pre-dawn direct action mission against a mid-level facilitator in a network your intelligence cell has been tracking for 3 months. You fly in a helicopter with no lights and hit the compound at 0200 and move through the structure in under 2 minutes, and the target is flex-cuffed and hooded and on the helicopter before the neighborhood fully registers what happened. 6 hours later, you're cleaning your weapon on a cot in a forward operating base. Nobody will ever know what happened in that compound tonight. That is not a complaint. That is the job. Level 5. The experienced operator. 5 years in. For deployments. Iraq, Afghanistan, an African country you will never name, and a maritime interdiction rotation in the Pacific that involved boarding vessels in international waters at 3 a.m. in sea states that made the rigid hull inflatable feel like a cork. You've been on over 150 direct action missions. You've conducted close target reconnaissance alone in denied territory for 72 hours straight in a hide site you dug with your hands. You performed trauma care on a teammate in a hallway while the building was still being cleared around you. You were selected for advanced sniper training. 6 weeks at a location that doesn't appear on any public training schedule. You qualify to 1,000 meters in wind conditions that make the ballistic solution a living calculation rather than a fixed number. On a deployment to Afghanistan, you take a shot at 800 meters against a target who has just armed an IED on a road used by a partnered force convoy. The wind is 12 knots variable from the left. Your spotter gives you the call. You exhale halfway and hold and press the trigger, and the target goes down before the sound of the shot reaches anyone on the ground. The convoy passes safely. You reset and move to the next hide site. Nobody will ever know that either. Level 6. Leading petty officer and platoon chief. You're running a platoon now. 16 operators. Their training, their readiness, their performance on target, and their lives are your direct responsibility. The authority you carry doesn't map cleanly to your rank. You might be an E7 leading men who are technically your peers because in the team's rank is secondary to capability and role. The hierarchy is flat by design, because flat hierarchies keep people alive in small unit operations where the man on the ground sees things the commander doesn't. You plan operations. You receive target packages from the intelligence cell. Photographs, signals intelligence, pattern of life analysis, human intelligence from sources whose names you will never know. You build the plan, rehearse it on the mock-up, brief the troop commander, and execute it at 0200. On target, you make decisions in fractions of seconds that will be reviewed by lawyers and officers for weeks afterward. A door opens, and a figure appears holding something in the darkness, and you have 1 second to decide, and you decide, and you are right, and you'll never fully stop thinking about the half second in which you could have been wrong. You carry every call. The ones that were right. The ones you're not certain about. The ones that wake you at 3 a.m. in a way that no debrief or legal review can resolve because the lawyers weren't in the hallway and didn't see what you saw in the moment you had to decide. After a deployment, you sit in a bar in Virginia Beach with your platoon, and nobody talks about the missions. Nobody needs to. The shared silence is more honest than any conversation. Your wife asks how the trip was. Fine, you say. She stopped pressing years ago. Level 7. Senior enlisted and team commander. 8 years in the teams. Over 250 combat operations. Your body is an inventory of damage accumulated quietly over years of parachute landings, combat swimmer operations, and the compressive weight of full kit worn in extreme heat for months at a time. A shoulder rebuilt after a hard landing on a maritime insertion. Hearing loss in your left ear from a breaching charge that detonated closer than the plan specified. Vertebrae that the VA will rate as a pre-existing condition, even though the X-rays tell a different story. Operators don't have limitations. They have workarounds. You mentor the newer operators the way someone mentored you. Not through speeches. Through the standard you hold yourself to every single time. Through the calm in your voice on the radio when the breach goes wrong and the backup plan becomes the primary plan in the space between two heartbeats. Through the way you walk into a briefing room before a hard mission and sit down and open your notebook and get to work. You've lost teammates. Not colleagues, brothers, men whose children call you uncle, men whose wives call you when a water heater breaks and their husbands are deployed and you're the only person they trust who understands this life. The teams have a wall, not public, not visible to anyone outside the community. Photographs and names in a hallway that most people will never walk through in a building that most people will never enter. You walk past it every morning. You know every name. Level 8. The exit. You leave the teams after 18 years. The exit is quiet. No parade. No press release. Your service record lists an assignment to a naval special warfare support element. That is all anyone outside the community will ever see. You take a job. Government contractor. Security consulting. Some operators go to the CIA's Special Activities Center and continue doing the same work in the same places under a different authority. The pay is better. The silence is identical. You try civilian life. You sit in traffic. You coach your son's baseball team on Saturday mornings. You stand in a hardware store behind a man who cannot decide between two nearly identical drill bits. And you think about a hallway in a country you cannot name where a decision had to be made in 1 second, and you made it and live with it every day since. You buy the drill bits for him. Both of them. You walk to your car and sit for a moment before starting the engine. Two realities. Neither one wins. You find that the only people who fully understand are the people you served with. So you call them and they call you, and you meet in places where you can sit with your back to the wall and say the things you can't say anywhere else. It's enough. It has to be. Level 9. The cycle. Right now, somewhere in America, a 19-year-old is doing his first open water swim in water so cold it feels like a punishment. He is 3 weeks into BUD/S. He has wanted this since he was 12 years old. He has no idea what Hell Week actually is. He has no idea about the 250 combat operations, or the rebuilt shoulder, or the wall with the photographs, or the hardware store moment, where two realities sit in a parking lot, and neither one wins. He knows the trident. He knows where he wants to be. The bell is 20 feet away. He doesn't ring it. He turns back to the water. The best ones always do. The cycle begins again.